sovereign and free. But I wasn't always like this, you see. In fact, I was probably the last person on earth that you would expect to end up doing this. I've spent the last 14 years being initiated to be ready to receive the goddess energy in a baptism of fire and completely alone. I went through many deaths and rebirths. I shed many skins and am unrecognizable from the girl I used to be. Also, I could gain the high priestess ability to channel the goddess deity. So I want to start this journey by sharing briefly about my baptism of fire, because it was pretty epic, and how I ended up here, because it's a good example of what not to do when it comes to your own spiritual journey. And so you understand how I was able to actually receive these otherworldly teachings from the goddess directly. And now don't worry, I'm not going to give you my full life story, just the juicy bits that will benefit you today. So to make it easy, I'll break it into a few different phases of my life. The first phase I call the innocent, because I really was in the beginning. Even though I grew up in a home and was raised by alcoholic parents, and it was quite traumatic, there's lots of chaos and violence and verbal and physical abuse at times. And to make it even worse, we lived in a trailer, I was very poor, and I developed an eating disorder quite young, and had a massive sense of unworthiness, shame, and blame for my personal circumstance. And I was always desperate to escape from the trauma to create a life of safety, stability, and security for myself. So on the day that I turned 18, I became an exotic dancer to try and gain some power and security financially. But I ended up getting my energy drained, and it led to many failed relationships and a deep mistrust of masculine men and a deep-seated rage of hate. I experienced verbal and sexual abuse daily. I would hustle to the point of passing out for masculine bosses who would harness my sexual energy and basically use me. And I was trapped in karmic enslavement. And for 12 years, I tried to free myself many times, but failed completely. But along this painful and traumatic journey, I also became a healer and osteopath, but kept taking on other people's wounded energy and karma, which drained me even further. I also became a hustler, where I went fully into the dark masculine and toxic feminine energy, which affected me spiritually. I became cold, detached from my body and femininity. I was like a living zombie. And I took my rage out on masculine beings in really dark ways. And I was driven by business, money, and greed. I was swept up into the darker side of society, completely abandoning my feminine divinity. Then I became the griever. When my mum was traumatically taken from me and passed away in 2015, I was abandoned by my twin flame, which broke me and broke my heart completely. I was in unbearable spiritual pain, addicted to psychic tarot readings. I got into a lot of debt, and I was at rock bottom. Then one day I was laying on my living room floor, and the goddess came to me. She showed me I needed to learn to love and forgive myself for my choices and life that I was born into, and forgive others that had wounded or abandoned me, to purify my body and sexual energy. So for the next few years, I went on a deep spiritual journey to heal myself and find love and connection to goddess energy. And I succeeded. I gained many new spiritual gifts. I could read people psychically very easily. I could transmit light language and access other healing abilities spontaneously. I even started to help the wounded masculine in the strip clubs, being able to feel compassion, understanding, and even unconditional love. And then after a 12-year-long journey, I was finally able to free myself from the stripping industry. And I became a feminine coach and spiritual teacher, helping women heal from heartbreak trauma. I worked with hundreds of women, helping them heal the pain, insecurity, and codependency, and start to have their own connection to their inner goddess energy. I was using teachings and techniques that I had learned from other teachers and masters that had helped me, teaching in a very methodical and masculine way to ground their chaotic feminine energy. And this did help them, but it didn't help them as much as I would have liked. And they didn't all seem to get the results as quickly as they desired. I felt deep guilt and shame that what had worked for me wasn't working for them the same. I felt responsible, and the burden became too much for me. I had made the mistake that I only now understand. I was trying to lead them down the exact same path as me, but no one can walk the same path you have. Each has their own path to take, and showing them a process to follow is not always the best way. But showing them how to connect to higher guidance themselves is the only thing that ever helps. As I was deep practicing what I was preaching, a mix of sacred sexuality, self-love, and yes, celibacy, melting deeper into my divine feminine energy and following my intuition fully, I got pulled to relocate to Portugal, where I met my beloved Romeo, manifesting him into my life effortlessly. I healed and awakened him sexually with the energy of the Kundalini. And when we made love for the first time, he connected to the goddess source. He had a full ayahuasca-like experience, which awakened his own Kundalini. And after he finished convulsing and hallucinating, he confessed his love for me. And we've been together ever since. I became a devoted lover. To him, I became the goddess embodied. But this initiation came with a lot of pain and trauma. I got very sick and didn't know why. My hair was falling out. I came up in rashes all over my body. I felt nauseous every day, was energyless, and I felt like I was close to death. We got pregnant twice and miscarried both times within a period of 7 months. And I had to have surgery on my breast to remove my breast implants, as they were what was slowly poisoning and killing me. I removed them completely and still have the scars to remind me. I had massive emotional, physical trauma to my feminine body, my womb, and breasts. And on top of that, I could no longer work as a coach and teacher in my masculine energy. It felt too misaligned from my true feminine path and destiny. So I ended up actually destroying the successful business I had, and it came at a price. But as I started to recover and purify my body with food, fasting, and continued cleansing, one day out of the blue, I became the seer, the mystic, and the oracle. The goddess gifted me with my otherworldly high priestess ability and named me as her oracle the first day she ever spoke through me. I had never been able to channel before, but overnight I could access this gift like magic. And one of the first things she channeled through me was a hidden goddess mystery called the Black Seed, which is something I want you to remember for later in this training, as it's massively important for you. I followed a protocol that she channeled to remove this black seed from my womb. Then for the first time, I was able to connect back to her directly through the hidden goddess energy stream. And finally, I had graduated after my 14-year-long journey and baptism of fire, and my life came to a place of power and peace finally. Now I can see otherworldly things and memories, receive guidance and intelligence from the goddess clearly. She started to give me visions and dreams, and I'd awake from my sleep in sweats from what I'd seen. I had the craziest dreams of tsunamis, ET ships coming to Earth, asteroids in the sky, and a whole army of powerful feminine beings standing by my side, unafraid, leading humanity into a new reality of light. And even though this was perhaps not literal but symbolic, after asking her about it, the goddess revealed to me my true mission, which was to allow her to share her wisdom and teachings directly with a specific group of feminine beings, ones who had already heard the goddess call and were already searching for the path back to her, in order to activate their true destiny and receive their own high priestess gifts and abilities, so they can help heal and awaken humanity. So as you can see, over the last 14 years, I've died and been reborn many times, a true initiation by fire. Buried in the darkest of places, I managed to reach out and touch the light. I transformed, jumped worlds and timelines. But even though I experienced the painful initiation process of my life, something we call initiated by trauma, it put me on a new path, which had a higher destiny. And to me, it was worth it entirely. But honestly, I really wouldn't recommend it. Do not follow the same process as I did. Not unless you like unnecessary pain and suffering, that is. You see, I had no one guiding me. I had to attract painful situations into my life to initiate myself. I had to endure unthinkable things. I was unable to connect to the goddess directly. That's why it took me 14 years. This was because For the last 2,000 years, initiation by trauma for the feminine has been the only way, and I'll explain why this is later in the training. And I'm quite surprised I survived, really. There were so many times that I wanted to give up and just die, but she kept a fire burning inside of me, and now I know why. It wasn't meant for all women to walk this path the same way as me, in pain and struggle, manifesting trauma after trauma. Only one needed to fight their way to the finish line, to access their high priestess gift, to give her an in and a way to communicate the ancient initiation process of the old ways, so that the goddess can initiate and lead the rest of the feminine beings directly in a more speedy and peaceful way. But I'm glad I endured the pain. If it means that the goddess can now guide you in this training and prepare other feminine beings for what is coming in our human society, then I'm good with it. Because we've had pandemics, hurricanes, floods, earthquakes, and that is just the start of it. We need more feminine leaders with otherworldly gifts to rise at this time. Because I've seen it. I've seen what's coming. She's shown me, she's channeled it already, and it's called the womb prophecy. This is not to scare you. In fact, the world is in turmoil, and we have been called as feminine beings to rise and connect to the sacred goddess energy to help heal and unite society, so that we can have a chance at a positive outcome and future for humanity. Because nobody else is coming. The men can't do it. They are relying on us for them to be freed. It's our job, and we must get ready. So on that note, there is no time to waste. Now you know where I got the teachings for this training from the goddess herself. Let's dive in deep and prepare you for your own goddess initiation right now. Not initiation by trauma, but initiation by the goddess herself. So the first thing you need to understand, if you want to be initiated by the goddess and not initiated by trauma, is the mystery of sacred sexuality and the goddess energy stream. Because what is the secret to being a living, powerful goddess on earth today? Why isn't every feminine being connected to goddess energy, guided by her, embodying her in every breath and touch? There is one thing you have been missing, and it's embedded in this mystery, hidden from your current consciousness, keeping you stuck in a perpetual cycle of healing, blocking you from accessing your goddess self fully. It's the mystery of sacred sexuality and the goddess energy stream. This goddess mystery reveals why you have been blocked and unable to receive your highest feminine power and gifts and abilities. This mystery takes us back to over 10,000 years ago, before the floods came, because at this time, goddesses walked the earth. They descended from the heavens and erected temples all over this world, installed technology to assist feminine leaders of humanity to communicate with them from the other world, to share wisdom and secrets to guide humanity to a greater evolution and destiny. They erected the pyramids and standing stones as beacons to receive the goddess frequency, which set up a two-way communication energy stream, which worked vibrationally. So information could be passed from higher dimensions to Earth and be received through these frequency streams, like a radio, which was enhanced by the temple structures and inner chambers. The energy streams of communication were received by high priestess initiates of the goddess deities, women who were